Just in volume.
Oh, come on, Brent.
Is that just me?
I mean, he has to cross the Atlantic, right? That's going to be, you lose some levels.
The really silly thing
okay.
is my
Well, so
signal's
do
going
we.
all the way to Seattle, which is kind of, really far away. And then it's coming all the way back for some of our listeners, which is like, come on. Getting spied.
Although, also amazing, it even effing works.
Record testing.
Plus, we get to
very
say
good point.
mixed in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. Wes, do you want a little more? How about some background light there? Do you want this light? No, that's probably too much, huh?
I love this.
There we go.
Chris,
That's
can
a
you
little
turn this light down a little bit?
better.
And turn off the bus shaking.
Firm up the suspension. Yeah, should be fine.
Okay,
All right.
Brent actually on a bus right now. Hold on.
Yeah. So we should probably mention this in the show, but Brent is in a double-decker diesel bus, and the top front has been converted into a recording studio.
I guess in
That's
theory I
awesome.
can share some photos there in the chat, right?
Yeah. Oh, that'd be good.
We
Great
have
idea.
the means.
Yeah. I don't have a pre-show. But I feel like
you
we don't
never
need one.
do anymore.
I remember when you used to care about the pre-show. Now the pre-show is just for the members.
Yeah, right.
Isn't the
Flowers. every
pre-show, if you
show.
think about it, isn't a pre-show kind of like preheating the oven? Either it's a show,
Yeah.
or it's not a show. It's not such a thing as a
Ooh,
pre-show.
I like that.
Yeah. That's true. The cold open now. It's the cold open, you see. Could call it that. I think that's the appropriate term. All right,
That
boys.
is
I think
too
we're ready.
cool, Brent.
I think we might be ready.
No, it's actually
How are you
quite hot.
feeling? How are you feeling, Wes? You got Reaper.
Yep, Reaper's
You got
looking
video back up there.
Seeing levels in all the places.
good. Yeah, remote
Mhm,
backup. I got
mhm.
Mumble. I got me. So just a 3-tracker on the studio side today. But yeah, I think from the studio perspective, looking good. Disk space,
Very nice.
ready to record whenever.
It's a
Okay.
little awkward over here because there's actually 3 people in the mezzanine right next to me watching me. I've never had a live audience before.
You got a
like
live
this.
audience, yeah.
So,
You're supposed to dance a
know if I
little
like
at this
this.
point.
Are they all
well,
ladies?
I'm rocking.
They're all ladies, aren't they, Brent?
No,
Got an
it's-
audience full of
it's
ladies.
3 very European men.
Why would you not just
maybe
say
I'd be okay
yes,
with that.
dude? Why did you not just say yes? You just take the win. Just say, yeah, it's a bunch of
Mm.
ladies watching me.
Yeah.
That was an easy win, dude.
Sorry, I'm losing it.
All right. Let's do it. Let's do it. I have to urinate, but that'll
Yeah,
just
forget
give me
to-
the
You got to
passion.
hit record too, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's the let's do
Oh,
it part.
sorry, I
I'm
thought
talking
you were just jumping in the cold open. You were talking about hot ovens and stuff.
It's going to be
That
one
was
of
like
those
30
shows.
seconds ago. Yep. All right, here we go. Everybody in
Hey,
three,
Brent.
3, 2, 1. Record. Hello, Drew. Hello.
Hi,
We got levels over
Drew.
here. They're all looking good.
Let me double check. I got soundboard. And survey says, yes, we have soundboard.
And hey, would
Okay.
someone in the Mumble chime in? I just want to check that here.
We're here.
All
Are you
right,
there?
thank you, Jeff.
We're here.
1, 2, 3.
Hey, guys. So we'll do, my name is Wes. My name is Brent. And then,
Do we want our,
Noah, I'll
do we want
say,
our silence or our sync?
oh, yeah, I'm just letting, yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
And then I'll say, and returning to the show once again. Like, this is like a
Colonel Linux.
a
guys.
streak. Like, how many times? Let me go look, actually. I want to know. Because this is, there's not,
There were two like a couple months ago, right?
Intense.
well, and there's not a lot of people that probably have that amount of shows coming on here now, right? Guesting, I would guess. Let me see. Boy, we got a lot of effing guests, though.
Chief North
No,
Dakota
it's more than 2
correspondent.
episodes. We've only been tracking for a couple of years, I guess, is the problem. But yeah. All right, it's at least the 3rd or 4th time. All right, boys. Shall we do it? Oh, yeah,
Let's
4
do
count
it.
stuff, right. And I'm going to turn off my my gate, too, so we can do a little noise cap.
D-gate.
Yep. All right, so everybody jump in at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Four.
Hey!
Can we try that again?
Yeah, you ready?
The timing was off, but I couldn't tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Four.
Come on, Brent, you're a drummer now. You should have timing down.
It's that from over here, it is all really bad.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're probably getting, some weird relay. Okay.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, let's get a little room cap for your room there, Brent, and then
Sure.
we'll proceed. So starting now. Righteous. Thank you, boys.
I think it's loudest at the JB1 there.
It does seem loud there. Probably just because it's, big audio. Wes with his big audio.
Giant audio today. Yeah. It
Yeah,
almost doesn't fit in the
big.
studio.
Big audio. All right, so we'll do my name is Chris, my name is Wes, my name is Brent, and then I'll say, and joining us again, it's our buddy Noah, and then Noah, you can say hello, and then I got a little, we'll do our thing. Okay, boys. I think I'm ready. Let's do it. Hello, friends, and welcome back to your weekly Linux talk show. My name is Chris.
My name is Wes.
And my name is Brent.
And joining us again, it's our buddy Noah from the Ask Noah program. Hey, Noah.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Hello. Thank you for coming on. We have a chat for we're going to chat about a couple of different projects that are really working. And now I'm popping too. We're going to chat about a couple of different projects that are really working to give us data sovereignty every single day. They both have some news, at least for those of us that are paying attention. There's some things that are really exciting in there. So we'll zoom in on those renewed efforts from the Nextcloud team and the Matrix communities to build something that projects and businesses and families and even enterprises can use. And we'll talk about what's worked and what hasn't worked so well, too. We'll be really honest about it. Then we'll round out the show with some great boosts and picks and a lot more. No, we're so glad to have you back on the show. It's been way too long. It's been what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, a couple months, but yeah, I appreciate you making the time.
We
Oh,
were
I
supposed to
appreciate
have
you.
Noah back via ham radio, but maybe
Right, or
next time.
Matrix. Right. Well, I was catching the Ask Noah show, episode 354, and you guys were talking about some of your Matrix server work in there. So I thought, let's do a little collab and talk about what we're both working on, and I think it's going to be really great. So before we get there, I want to say good morning to our friends at Tailscale. Tailscale is a mesh VPN that's protected by Wirecard. You can get it up and running in just minutes. It'll connect all your machines directly to each other. It's so robust. It'll change your networking game. Go say good morning and try it out for up to 100 devices for free while you're supporting the show at tailscale.com/Linux Unplugged. And a big time appropriate greetings to our virtual lug. Hello, Mumble Room.
Hello.
Hello, Noah.
All of our favorites right in one place. What was that?
That's great. Hello, everybody. So let's start with kind of some somber news. We're going to try to make lemonade out of this. But Linux Fest Northwest 2023 has been postponed. Late last week, we received the news that the construction work the Bellingham Technical College was working on had expanded, and that they were expanding the scope of the project due to some serious issues that were found. I'm not really privy to all the details, but I'm told it's pretty significant, and they're really kind of tearing the place apart. So as a result, we are going to punt the October event to next spring. Now, because a lot of people already have traveled, and because we really want to get together, we're still going to have a get together and make the best of the situation, both the Linux Fest crew and the JB crew. There's going to be the Friday night game night, which is at a great venue. There's going to be some single track educational sessions on Saturday and a Saturday social that we'll also be participating in. And we're hoping to pull off a live self-hosted and a live Linux Unplugged recording. So what we are doing is we're transitioning to more of a meetup style. And the Linux Fest Northwest meetup page has several meetups with the individual events going on. Plus there'll be other things and no doubt lots of social track stuff. So if you're interested and you're still going to make it, please go RSVP on their meetup page. We'll have it linked in the show notes. It, of course, is quite simply meetup.com/LinuxFest Northwest. And we'll be there with bells on. In some ways, I'm sad because it's been a lot of work to have this happen. In other ways, I feel a little bit relieved because it means we're going to have more time to talk and interact with people, probably have more time to work on projects at JB. And we can just work towards the spring and maybe work in some even better stuff. We have a little more time now to work with. And it was it was rough, right? I mean, Linux Fest Northwest has been at the Bellingham Technical College for 20 years, 20 plus years. And I've been going the whole time. And so we did consider very strongly switching venues. Um, but that's a pretty big change. And with, about 30 days out, it just doesn't seem like we'd be able to pull it off the way we want. So we will punt to the spring, where we have traditionally somewhere in that time frame done it. It usually floats a little bit. And I think it'll be a good event when it does land. So if you aren't going to attend or you can't make it, we totally understand. But if you're still planning to make it out, we're going to be hanging out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it'll be a great time. All right. Nobody has anything to add. That's fine then. Moving on. Well, Brent is going to kind of have to depart soon from the show. I mean, that's not the right way to put it.
Sorry, guys. It was a good go. But
Good run, Brent.
Yeah, sink in here on the Titanic.
Well, we've only got Brent for a limited time because he has been working his moose off for the last few days. Hours and hours of Nextcloud video content up on their channel for you to go check out. And along with a big Nextcloud event where Brent was essentially playing DJ and doing Q&A up on stage between sessions like a boss, there was also the Hub 6 announcement with a focus on healthy meeting culture. And Brent was also participating in that. So what's that been like, Brent? You've been now on the inside of a big Nextcloud. This has got to be like their biggest release ever yet.
Yeah, it sure is, especially from a media point of view. I mean, we pulled out all the punches and did some amazing stuff. To be, such an interesting experience. So as some disclosure, I have been employed by Nextcloud for the last 3 months, which has been an amazing ride. But to see the video production that went into recording all of this, in March when I was here, I was just watching it from the crowds, as European JB
Spectator
journalists, I suppose.
Yeah.
But to be on the other side of that, I mean, I was honored to be asked to participate, really. But to have like all these lights and cameras shone at you, that's very different than the podcasting that we do. I'm used to sharing my voice, and that's about it. So it's been a super, super fun experience, and really cool to see the team come together and pull all that off. It's super impressive.
Now, here's what I've been noticing from the outside. Hub 6, they're definitely focusing on ways to make meetings more tolerable for humans, which I really appreciate. But underneath all of that, there's a couple of reoccurring themes I noticed in the announcement videos, and I also announced it in day 1 and day 2 of the presentations and the Q&A. And that is, there seems to be a growing focus by Nextcloud on the benefits of decentralization. And I'm just curious what insights you have to share there, because that, to me, that's one of my big themes.
Yeah, well, I think it's true that probably for most listeners here, it really is a nice thing for us. I think it's always been true that Nextcloud has been decentralization friendly, of course. Now, we've seen a bit of a trend with other technologies these days, especially, with Twitter catching on fire and such, that this theme has come up more so in the last year than we've seen in a long time. And that has only been positive. But for Nextcloud, I think it has been important for us to continue to say that, by default, it's decentralized. And there are some features that allow you to federate and such. And not everybody needs those features, but they're there by default if you want them. They've been there for years, and they're pretty well battle tested and can work in various ways. There's a lot of creativity happening on the back end, too, to allow that stuff. But just by the very nature, your Nextcloud is decentralized. And you can, craft it to the type of decentralization you want. It can be completely off of the public internet if you want, or it can be federated, anywhere in between.
Mm-hmm. I think what I'm noticing, though, is, and this isn't a bad thing, I'm noticing increased ambition from Nextcloud on the scope of the problem they want to take on, because they're really positioning themselves as a big tech alternative. We're an alternative to the Microsoft suite. We have on-premise AI instead of using OpenAI and remote AI. We're focused on open source and being decentralized. We are I feel like they've figured out several of these themes: decentralization, open source, on-prem AI, and they're kind of bringing it all together in this alternative package to Microsoft and to the other suites. And they're just kind of being a lot more aggressive about it with a much more public demonstration now. And they have this Nextcloud event that's been going on for 2 days that has people up there doing presentations on the apps they're creating for the Nextcloud platform. And it's just like they're really now positioning it at a much larger, more ambitious target, it seems like.
One thing that would be interesting is if they would consider an answer to email, right? Like when you look at what those organizations are looking for, Nextcloud ticks like 9 out of 10 boxes, but that 10th box is email. Those organizations need it. And like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I would have said you're a fool if you try to host your own mail. But these days, there's some really, really interesting competitive mail, self-hosted mail products out there. It would be interesting to see if there could be some sort of partnership or if that's something they could incorporate down the road.
Yeah, what's fascinating about that, Noah, is that Nextcloud has Nextcloud Mail, which is integrated, but there's been how do I put this? There's some cool things happening in the open source mail ecosystem that we're working on behind the scenes. That is fresh, brand new, and I don't have all the details, but I can at least tease that there's some cool partnerships happening, and I think we can announce something in the next little bit, but there's some work to do there before we really reveal what's going on. But we, as you do, totally have our eye on those same things. And it's fascinating to be part of a group of people who are, worldly. I'm meeting people from a whole bunch of different countries and work with people from, I think it's like 16 different countries now, which is awesome. But we all see the world and the problems that are here and are like, oh yeah, we need a solution to that problem. And it's what's really great and is that we have the resources to kind of tackle some of these things and can point our eye at those really difficult problems and say, well, what can we do in this area? Maybe we can't solve it all right now, but at least we can start.
I noticed, Brent, in the Q&A from the audience, so like the customers, the users of Nextcloud, I noticed for some of the Q&A sessions, almost every question was around concerns about the NSA spying on non-U.S. citizens and data protection. I mean, it came up so often that it became a joke between Hadi and I. Oh, it's another question about the NSA. Like,
did you drink every time or what?
Yeah, we would have been wasted. Did you experience? Did you notice that? Like, that seems to be a big area of like driving Nextcloud adoption is people that are concerned about, I guess, government overreach.
Yeah, there are a few things I think that contributed to that, especially at the conference this time. So the first thing that we noticed was that, or I should say the first thing I noticed being a North American in Europe is that, yeah, generally people are worried about these things. As North Americans, I think, I don't know, I'm fascinated by this, but I think there's just a general acceptance of some of that surveillance happening. As a Canadian, less so, like we're on the sidelines watching what's happening in your country. But it is worrying, both for your citizens and the citizens of the world, right? It's like we have these undersea cables and apparently they're tapping into them and just gobbling up everything. Now, we only have hints of what's actually happening, but we have imaginations, right? And what I'm noticing is in Europe, there's just generally more awareness. I mean, I'm hanging out in circles of people who are well educated in that regard, but that has been a fascinating insight. But I think what contributed even more to that, especially with the Q&As that you're referring to, is that we had on stage Max Schrems, who did a keynote, and this is his game. He's an expert in privacy law and has fought giants like Facebook and challenged the EU Commission on some of their decisions around enforcing some of the privacy laws here in Europe. And so a lot of that has to do with data collection and with sending data to the NSA. And so I think it's just been a hot topic and kind of a topic generally at the conference because, yeah, it's sort of worrying for all citizens everywhere in a way. If we have transparency about what's happening, at least then we can make some decisions about it and maybe do better for society,
Yeah. I got to get to upgrading because I think I'm on like Hub 4. I got to get caught up. Hub 6 looks like a good one. I like the simple improvements to the files stuff, which Brent covers in the keynote, or I guess in the presentation, which we'll put a link to in the show notes. So you can see all the features for yourself. But it's time to upgrade. It looks like a really solid one.
Can we get
They're also kind of
can we get a quick summary of what healthy meeting culture means?
yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah, it actually means a lot of things. There's a massive list of features, which I think we have a blog post that tries to not list the exhaustive list because it's just crazy. We have so many people contributing and community members contributing this kind of stuff. But generally, it's that the Nextcloud Hub is trying to make your life just a little bit easier. You know, you're doing a bunch of actions like attaching files to, I don't know, emails and calendar notes and things like that, and just trying to invite people to meetings. And so there was a ton of feedback from users in the last few releases just about making everyday actions that you perform, 10, 20 times sometimes, just making those smoother. And so a lot of attention, both from our designers and the design community, and also just the back-end developers, has been just focused on making life easier for the people who are actually using the software. So
one example I noticed was like if the sharing menu, there's a sequence you can click where it sometimes will close the menu and then you have to click it again to bring it back up, and then you can actually get the URL, and those types of little kind of niggly UI things they've been smoothing over with this release. So now that, for example, in that scenario, the UI doesn't close and you can click the link without having to bring it back up again, and it just saves you a couple extra clicks.
Yeah, what's fascinating for us long-term Nextcloud users is that this is just always how it's been. So we've gotten used to it. But now that there's a bit of a different UI change to a few things, like, oh, wait a second, actually, that did need improvement.
Yeah. It feels like we're watching kind of coinciding with, probably their hiring of you too. It feels like they're going into the next kind of phase of getting really serious about this user base that's using it as a full collaboration suite. And it seems like they've really found a stride there and a customer base that's interested in that product.
Especially at the conference, like I mentioned, I'm relatively new to the team. But I thought, since we've been looking at Nextcloud for years and years and years, I kind of prided myself on knowing what was possible and all the different integrations and stuff. But man, just with all the lightning talks and stuff this weekend, I realized I actually have no idea of all the different possibilities, like CAD drawing integrations and all this crazy stuff. It's really impressive, and it's making me realize, by having a bit more of a European perspective when I'm here in Berlin, I think it's the third time I'm here, that is just used in a variety of ways that us home labbers don't ever interact with. Like there's some total European governments using it and big institutions using it, Amnesty International and stuff. So there are these use cases that I don't think I had considered until I was part of the Nextcloud team. It's really fascinating to see all the different ways that it's being used by a bunch of different types of people.
Well, Bradley, your next job is to rest up so you can make it to the NixOS meetup and get that framework finished up.
Right? I think you won this bet. I'm not daily driving the framework yet. It's been like 2 weeks, so I think I lost this one. Yeah, there's one last feature I want to tease you guys with.
Oh yeah, tell us.
Just because I think for our audience specifically, I think it's actually an interesting one. So previously, Nextcloud apps have always needed to be written in PHP. That's what the server's written in, and that's what needed to happen. But with this release, we're starting an app ecosystem, which is language agnostic almost. So you can write in any application language you want. Python, maybe Rust. I don't know, Wes, if you can hit that button. It is early days, but it is super exciting. So community members can dive in now and play with it. Now, that's about the limitation of my technical knowledge on how it works on the back end. But
I was gonna say, are there any sample apps or anything out there you can try if you upgrade?
Yeah, there are two kind of sample apps that you can play with. They're written in Python, and one of them does a file conversion, so converts video into a GIF. Oh, sorry,
Great.
GIF.
Jeff,
and
it's Jeff, right?
Oh, it's
Yeah,
Jeff.
yeah,
I apologize, Jeff.
The .jef file.
So just to show, a simple action working, and but what's neat about that is that the application uses Docker in the back end to enable the app to, do its stuff. And so there's some coordination there that I think might have a really cool future. And I'm seeing a whole bunch of possibilities. So to see Nextcloud as a bit of like a Docker coordination platform too is a totally different way of framing it. And I think there might be some, cool things down the road.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got all your data and so much information there, and then you can have like some of your execution now sort of co-local with that data and running right there. It seems like it's some powerful possibilities.
Yeah, and some neat implications of that is like, you can have your AI segregated on a rig that is specifically with GPUs that can deal with that, for instance, or you can control an app tightly, almost like we do with Flatpaks, and say, well, this application specifically only has access to, this type of data. So it is early days, but I would encourage people who are interested to just dive in and see what you can make, I guess.
All right, Brantley. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well done.
I would love
Well
to
done
say
from the
that
bus.
I'm literally falling asleep, and it's 10 p.m. here, so
Yeah, go to bed. My
have a
gosh.
great time with Noah. I mean, I couldn't be replaced by a better person, so thank you.
Bye, Brantley. You can't be replaced, but you will, be swapped. I don't know. Podcast host swapping. I don't
Simulated. He'll be
I
simulated.
will miss hanging out either way. Have a good time, guys.
Yes, you
Mumble
too.
room, you guys too.
Get some
Take care.
rest.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Brent.
When I saw the hours of video that Brent's been that YouTube, it's up on YouTube. It's like, wow, yeah, he's gonna need the sleep. Okay, shall we?
Oh wait, we're not
Take
taking a
right
nap
back-
too? Oh no, okay.
I know, right? Wouldn't that be great? Like, is it time for us to take a break? Nope, we continue on. The show must go on. All right. Now let's shift gears and talk about Matrix, another tool that helps you stay sovereign and is potentially a solution for a small team, an enterprise, a school. There's all kinds of organizations and groups that are deploying and looking at Matrix. And it just recently, well, it will very soon, I suppose, got a lot nicer to use on the end user's side. No, you've been telling me about Element X, and this last week it just came out on Android, and it's a faster Matrix client, isn't it?
Yeah. So it was funny when they started developing Matrix, they kind of wrote out the protocol and they were thinking to themselves, okay, will this work? So they put together a Python client and they put together what is Synapse, and they tried it out and they went, oh, it's great, it works. And a bunch of governments from all over the world are like, yes, it does, and it's fantastic, and we want that. And they went, yeah, but this was really more of like a proof of concept more than like the thing we're rolling out. And they're like, yeah, we need it today. So they quick put the necessary lacquer around to make it work, and that's kind of how the experience for Matrix has been. It's workable, it works, it's usable. I, on a routine base, take more questions of people on Teams than I do for Element, which says a lot. But at the same time, they knew it could be much better. So if you've ever used like a Telegram or a native app, you notice, man, this thing is super responsive. Why doesn't Element do that? So Element X, which is what you're talking about, is the latest version in which they use the native toolkit on Android or on iOS, and then that toolkit then references essentially like a shared underpinning that is the same across all those platforms. And so it's a much more it's a much faster, more responsive app. But the other thing that they've done is they've implemented sliding sync, that idea that you only get the latest amount of messages, then it'll go back and kind of fill in the backlog as it syncs down. So signing into your Element account used to take minutes or hours, depending on how many rooms you were in and how long of the backlog you needed. Now it's seconds. You log in and it's just instantaneous, as long as your server supports sliding sync.
Yeah. But that is going to be fantastic because that syncing process is no joke for the server side either. If you got several clients all logging in at once and they're doing a big sync, and if they're in a lot of rooms, it takes a while. And so what they're kind of doing with the sliding sync system is clever. On large accounts with thousands of rooms, they'll just sync like the most top 2 or 3 rooms that you're in. Like they'll do more like lazy syncing. They'll sync just selective things to get the UI up, just the bare minimum, just to get the UI up and responsive. And then in the background, they can sync the other stuff kind of quietly. Then they can pull down read receipts later on. They can pull it down kind of more individually, which not only uses less resources on the server, but it makes it just way more responsive on the client side. And it also gives the clients a way to just sort of filter out certain rooms they've joined and say, I don't ever need to sync that room either.
Right.
It's great. So that's going to make the experience a lot better. But then you're saying, they're combining that with that new clean code base. So the app itself is actually quite nice.
Yep, and that's all just on the client side. So then on the server side, they're rewriting the entire server. And so eventually that will be done as well. It's functional today. You can go use Dendrite, much more responsive. There's a couple things left yet, I think, that they're going to iron out.
Right.
But once they shift over to that, the experience is going to be much more similar to that of a competing messaging alternative, except for, of course, the data sovereignty that you get from self-hosting everything.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about hosting it a little bit. We've learned some lessons. You know, we kind of did the YOLO thing. We just threw it on a server. Thought, let's see if anybody uses this, and then it grew, and we just kind of had to scale and scale and scale, and kind of learn, sort of, I guess, after the fact what we should or should not have done. And we've made some mistakes along the way. And I overheard you saying that you're going to be kind of or you have been reorging your Matrix server and kind of re-data centering it, I think. And I'm imagining you've probably incorporated a lot of lessons learned. So I just kind of wanted to chat with you about that and like, what hasn't worked? What did you really have to kind of like reassess? What lessons have you kind of incorporated? You know, just kind of that general stuff.
Yeah. So I would take you back to, like you say, logged into a VPS provider, spun it up, went, hey, that's cool, that works. Now, the idea, again, going back to that kind of proof of concept idea, if you had a server with like 12, 25 people on it and it federates to other servers, you're going to have a fantastic experience. When you just open the server up to internet and thousands of people log in and register for accounts, it's not that Matrix isn't technically capable of it. It's just that it starts to quickly exceed your system administration capabilities, at least in my case, and starts to exceed the budget that you had planned for the VPS host. And so at some point we had to shut it down and say, we're not going to turn the server off, but we're going to close it to public registration because we can't accommodate any more people.
Yeah, we had the same problem.
So what we started looking to do is I was like, okay, I go every night or every Tuesday night and talk to people about self-hosting, and here we are using somebody else's infrastructure. It's time to make the next step. And so we had rented space in a data center, and we had moved some of Altispeed services over to there, and those are working fine. So I thought, well, we'll just move it over and see what happens. So we started syncing the server over, and that took days to get everything sunk over. But eventually, you keep running rsync until it gets the time down, and then we flipped the switch and thought, well, let's see what happens. And 6 hours later, the server still wasn't running well at all. So we looked at it and said, okay, that's not working. Now, we were running on an R710. It was a virtualized Matrix instance, and it was running on top of spinning Rust. So
it's just not enough performance.
Yeah, it worked like a pig because we put it onto a pig. So that wasn't really any surprise. But then we started reevaluating and saying, okay, we got some early advice from people recommending specific hard drives and specific servers, and we started to get into the budgets of like tens of thousands of dollars. And it's like, okay, here's the deal. Just some back of the envelope geek logic tells us that 4 out of the 5 people that work daily at Altispeed have home labs that would rival most small businesses. We run all this stuff at our home, and it's just fine. So what are we not thinking, or what are we shouldn't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars to get this working? So we started putting some stuff together, and what we wound up with was a Dell R430, and we just said, we looked at the proper Intel Optane SSD, super fancy enterprise things, and then went, or we could buy the consumer ones and just plan on swapping them often. And so started setting up mirror pairs and put it inside of this Dell R430 and spun the whole thing up and ran it for a little bit and thought, okay, this could work. Brought it down to the data center, put it in there. We copied all the data over and flipped the light switch, and it was like night and day. This time, instead of waiting for 6 hours and being like, is SQL caught up yet? Are we federating? Oh, we're getting further behind. Oh, this isn't good. This time it was, wow, that's faster than it was on the VPS provider, like by a huge margin. And so it's been great. And so I would say the lessons would be, first, understand what you need. Grafana has become my new best friend, and I learned about it through this Matrix journey, but now I've gotten to the point where like I start to feel like I'm flying blind if I don't have Grafana on a server and I can't see in one place. Like, here's the memory, here's the... So I would say that's one lesson, is learn what you need ahead of time. Don't make the mistake of just throwing something against the wall and hoping it works.
Right.
The second thing is Ansible all the things. So I would say that Ansible, I would describe it as like the best hat trick anybody ever taught me, because you only have to do the work one time, and then when, not if, when you end up moving something or resetting something up, you've already done all of that work, and you can also borrow from what other people have done. So that's been super helpful. And then the last thing is surround yourself with a team of people that know what they're doing. So it was remarkably instrumental to have people that I could lean on to say, okay, you're a database person. What am I not thinking about when I'm going to be writing, huge amounts of data to this database? Oh, you should put them on separate disks and make sure that they're on your, okay, thanks. Having people that, that understand system administration and networking and stuff like that, and being able to kind of pool all of those resources together, it kind of helps paint a bigger picture. But where we're at today, it's running on its own. That dedicated R430 with a backup plan of we have new to us anyway, Dell R730s that are the new virtual hosts, again decked out with SSDs. And we think, although we've not tried, this time we should be able to virtualize the Matrix server and have it write out to a dedicated set of disks inside of that machine, and we think it would work okay. But for the time being, it's sitting on its own dedicated machine, and it works great.
It's like it's when you get a big Matrix server, you do kind of have to go hard. Like that's a serious investment you've made there to make that work. I'm curious if you think it'd be possible for something much simpler if it was just 5 or 10 people, 100 people using it, something like that.
I would tell you that it's not so much based off of the users as the size of rooms that you're in. So if you have 100 users, but you're all in like 4 rooms and there's not a lot of people in those rooms, you'll be fine. If you have 3 users, but you're in matrix.org, that server's going to struggle. That's kind of the way that I would frame that.
Right, because it's pulling in for those rooms. That is a tricky thing to remember. Because a part of it is like I don't want to scare people away from deploying Matrix on their own home server and enjoying it. But at the same time, I want them to appreciate that if you're going to open it up to a community, there is a lot to consider there. We're looking at our box, and I think one of the things that it took us a little while to figure out was how to really properly multi-process that thing, and get it taking advantage of multiple cores and whatnot.
Yeah, workers.
That was something we had to wrap our head around it. Wes, I know you've been fantasizing about rebuilding that Matrix box anew, a little NixOS style.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been toying with putting NixOS, well, really wherever.
Everywhere.
Yeah, wherever we can put it. And whether you use Ansible or something like Nix, I think you can have a really simple setup, especially it could just be like a home server config and a Synapse container in your database, maybe a Redis. But once you got workers or other things, you really do need some more orchestration between all of these sort of service components that Matrix has. That's where something like NixOS or Ansible, there's that great community Ansible project, but something where you can have a little more abstraction to declaratively, repeatedly tie those components together so you can understand it.
Shareable and replicatable.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this, Wes. If we were going to migrate, would you do an in-place Nixification of the existing box, or would you stand up a new box and do like the rsync move thing?
We'd have to probably think through a couple of the scenarios. I think we'd stand up a new box to start anyway, just to start playing with it and tweaking all the configurations. If that worked, we might just repoint the storage.
Here's one other thing I'll throw in there. So when you go to move the SQL data, or not move, excuse me. Well, it would be true move to, but when you go to upgrade the SQL database, that's the most pain in the neck part, right? Because you're by necessity, you've got to re-import that database when you get to the newest version of Postgres. So there's a project, it's on GitHub, and it is called PG Auto Upgrade. And it is a Docker container that will do an in-place MySQL upgrade. So you can spin up the new one, update the schema, do all the things, and then just reconnect over without having to take the entire thing down, be down for like 6 hours.
It is worth calling out probably too, right? Like one of the things about running Synapse is it really uses that database. I mean, whatever database you've got backing it is a really integral part of the whole design and the whole system working. And probably for something this small, it's not a big concern. But if you are going to scale it, you are going to have to understand a bit about how to operate a database.
Yeah, man. And I think when I was reflecting on this topic, I was also kind of revisiting the decision to go with Matrix as our community focus over Discord. And, we covered it on the show a couple of years ago, and there was some strong advocates for going with Discord. And a lot of what we just talked about today would have never been an issue. We wouldn't have had to burn any brain cycles on any of this with Discord.
Are we in the business
But I
of
don't-
running the community or hosting the community software?
Right. Right. But at the same time, I think, at least for us, I just don't regret it at all because it has been a fantastic learning experience. And I have seen a lot of open source communities embracing Matrix. So I've been participating in more open source community rooms than I ever have been before. And we have a really great community that is on those Matrix servers. Like I maybe because it does take a couple of extra steps to get going, it's sort of self-selecting, but whatever the reason is, it's also just been a great community experience on there. And I don't regret going with Matrix at all. I still think Discord's a fine platform, but I think for our show and the fact that we focus on free software and that we do advocate for self-hosting and data sovereignty, I think it's really great that we can run this. And I want to encourage other people to try it at home, even just for like their family chat, because if you keep it really simple and it's just a couple of group chats between, you and your spouse or a couple other family members, I don't think it's going to be a big burden. And it's still a lot of fun to play around with.
Yeah, I feel like we should call out because, especially here on the show, because we kind of talked about some of our scaling issues with the server that with workers, with just improvements to Synapse over time, we could downscale our server now for sure because it's just gotten a lot more performant. And once we learned the ropes and figured out the stuff we hadn't thought about before actually diving in, it's actually been not a pain to administer at all.
Here's the other thing. So you talk about getting your family involved. For me, anyway, I don't know what platform I would put my kids on. I honestly, straight right hand to God, don't, because all of these places, there's this increased emphasis on they want to know who you are because that's what keeps us safe, right? Is if everybody knows who everybody is. And so that is the antithesis of what I want for my children on the internet. And so Matrix gives them a way where they can interact in a limited fashion with other adults, other family members, other people, and we can slowly, under my wife and I's control, can slowly let them reach out. They don't need a phone number. They all know how to sign into their account from a web UI, so they can sit at any place that they have a web browser. They're able to get there and send my wife and I messages back and forth, which is super helpful. So I would double emphasize the idea that that's a great direction for kids. And then as far as longevity, if you think about it, so IRC's gotten us 1988, so that's 35 years. So we got 35 years out of IRC. You and I don't know what platform will be the hip kids' new platform in 10 years or 15 years or in the next 35 years. But I do know that I'll be able to talk to you because you'll still be running the Jupiter Broadcasting server and I'll still be running mine. So we will be able to facilitate communication between each other. And that's a really powerful thing. And I don't think you can say that about Discord or Telegram or any of the rest of them.
Yeah. Absolutely. You're right. And that is how I prefer to think of things too, is that long term. I want to mention while we're wrapping up here for the Matrix stuff, there is an event next week as this is released. The Matrix Community Summit is in Berlin. Lucky Brent. Thursday, the 21st of September to the 24th, September 2023, of course, as we record. We'll have a link in the show notes and they have, surprise, surprise, a Matrix chat room where you can coordinate. And they have some ticket information, and they have the conference schedule on there. And it's packed with good stuff. Home lab stuff, encryption stuff, UI design, even barbecue. I mean, packed with good stuff, Wes. So another reason to be jelly that we're not in Berlin, because the Matrix Community Summit is happening next week.
Can we talk about Beeper?
Oh, yes, please do. Tell me about Beeper.
So you said it during the intro. You said, hey, let's kind of touch on some of the rough edges as well. And I have had a number of people that I've gone to and said, here, use Element. And I've done that with a number of pieces of open source technology. And most of the time, like 85% of the time, they're really happy with it. And sometimes they're more happy with it than they were the thing that they were using. In the case of Element, this process is repeated so many times that it almost gives me a compulsive eye twitch just to repeat it. So a user signs up for Element, creates their account, they sign in, they're going back and forth, they're messaging, things are great, all the rooms are encrypted by default because that's great and secure, and so life is happy. Then they go and get a new phone. And they don't know anything about cross-signing certificates and locally end-to-end encrypt. All they know is I downloaded this thing from the store. And so they re-download Element and, oh yeah, I remember my password. Well, what they didn't know is that they were supposed to set up an encrypted a key sync. And it told them that numerous times. Hey, encrypted messages aren't backing
Yeah.
up because you don't have this set up. But you know what? They were able to talk with their friends, so they just ignored that message. And so they get 6 months down the road, 8 months down the road, and from their perspective, they got back in and lost all of their messages. Now, we as geeks look at that and go, no, the key is still there. You just have to export it off the other device or have it with you. That's what you want. But to them, they lost their messages. So
Yeah.
Beeper is a service. Now, it's a proprietary client, and it is not an open source implementation of Synapse. They have their own server, but it federates with the rest of the Matrix ecosystem and is a service very much like a Signal or a Discord or whatever else with support built around it. And so when you sign up on Beeper, it tells you, hey, this uses encrypted messages. You need to have this key. Do you understand that? Yes, I do. And you click on the next screen, then it says, give me the key back so I know that you back that up. And it forces you to step through that process and holds your hand a little bit. But what the selling point is, and it's really one of the most under-talked features about Matrix, it can talk to anything. So I have LinkedIn, Telegram, Signal, WhatsApp, Discord, Slack, all tied to Twitter, all to X, all tied to one thing now, and all of those messages come to one place. And so there are a lot of people that are looking at it and going, I don't have an iOS device, but my entire family is on iCloud. So the idea that I can go to Apple and register for an ID, I don't need a phone number, I don't have to buy an Apple device, but I can tie that to my Beeper account. Now I can message people on iMessage. Chris DeLuca told me that his wife sending videos over Telegram versus doing it through Beeper and that iMessage bridge cut their video time down in a fraction because it would compress the videos and stuff. So Beeper is a really great on-ramping tool for people that are not geeks, but also want to take advantage and participate in the Matrix ecosystem.
Gosh, how are they doing the iMessage stuff? Is there like a
They're
software
running
client you have to-
no. Well, yes, they're running a bunch of Macs, and they have accounts that are signed in for each user, and then there's a local bridge that runs. They were shipping people iPhones and having them run the bridge on like old
No
iPhones.
way. Wow.
Yeah, but they've now figured out a way where they have Macs running in a data center, and they're able to run it that way.
Wow. That would be kind of nice because, yeah, so much of the family is on iMessage, and it'd be nice just to have that piped right into one spot. So does it work inside Element, or is it its separate app? Beeper is its own app?
It is a separate app, but they have not nerfed anything. So if you know your way around Element and you know where to click on the button to say reset password, you can absolutely set yourself a password. Then you sign in to beeper.com as your Matrix server from any Matrix client you like, and it works just fine. So you can absolutely use it from Element. Now, I would tell you, one of the advantages of Beeper is they have a custom UI. So it breaks out all of your chats, the LinkedIn ones from the Twitter ones, from the Telegram. So it looks really nice. And there's like this global inbox thing that shows you, your latest IMs. Funny story, I tied it to LinkedIn. First time I've ever gotten spammed with IM, but that happened. So there's some downsides, but so there's some advantages to using their app because it looks a little prettier. But yeah, because they're all open source geeks to the max, they don't stop you from leveraging the stuff or leveraging Federation and all the rest of that stuff. You can use it. You just have to know what buttons to click on. And if you've used Element, you will, because it's just a forked version of Element.
Oh, okay. All right. I have some homework after the show. We'll have a link in the show notes, and it is just beeper.com. The audience has been telling me about it for a bit, but Noah, you sold me. I'm going to check it out. Collide.com/unplugged. Head on over there. Go give them a little boost, a little bumpy boost, a little bumpy boo-boo.
I was
over at
already there.
collide.com.
Come on.
Good boy. Attaboy. All right. Well, Brent brought the mailbag to Berlin with him, and now he's off partying with our mailbag, of all things. Why does he even bring the mailbag to the parties?
I thought that was like a federal offense.
Yeah. Well, especially the way he opens them and then tries to reseal them like we wouldn't notice.
It's covered in maple syrup.
Yeah, come on.
And now it is time for Le Boost.
And we got some super boosts this week, and we start with our baller boost from Hybrid Sarcasm. He is our big lobster this week. Do I have lobsters? He is probably, yes, he is our rich lobster this week. Get ready for this. 1,022,222 sats across 2 boosts. He is our baller this week. And he says, bummer about Linux Fest Northwest. boosting what I would have spent on the trip. Love the show, especially the member pre show. And then he sent in a row of old McDucks
This old duck still got it.
because he just wants to hear the duck hunt. Thank you, Sarcasm. You can ask for anything you like. Really, really appreciate that support. We're really trying to build something here where if the ad market continues to crater through the remainder of the year, we might have a system here that's sustainable. And the trickiest part about it is the sustainability part, right? Is that recognition of the value each week and stepping up. We really, really appreciate it.
Kusuria boosts in with 123,456 sats.
Oh,
I hoard that which your kind
We see what you're
covets.
doing there. I would totally be up for a no Nix episode. I'd also be up to up the stakes of anywhere you would want to mention Nix, you have to mention an alternative solution like Ansible or Fedora Silverblue. I'd also be up for a literally all Nix episode on the flip side too, where you talk about how Nix could fix all the problems and world hunger and more, basically like the Rust episode, but for Nix. Sounds like there's a code here too. This boost is a Planet Druidia shield code reference for those oldies that remember Spaceballs, because we need to open the gates to these challenges.
Fun will now commence.
That's great. I'm down for it. I wonder if we could try it next week. The no Nix.
All right,
The no
I'm going to have
Nix
to do
mentioned.
extra Nix in the off time just to get it out of my system.
We'll have to think about that. Okay, I'm gonna start thinking on it. Thank you very much for the boost. Goose comes in with 76,823 sats. I'm working on troubleshooting my boost, so hopefully you guys get this. But Graphene OS is great, but the Target and Starbucks apps have both been crashing on startup recently. Has anyone experienced this? I wonder if that's the memory management stuff. You know how you can turn on like compatibility mode for some of the apps in Graphene OS, and
Yeah, and
it's a little
disable
less.
some of the extra mitigations or whatnot.
Mm-hmm. No, you're still rocking the old Graphene, right?
I have in full disclosure, I have two phones. I have my personal phone and I've got my work phone. Personal phone is 100% graphene, and work phone I actually bought with the idea of I was going to run it until I didn't get updates anymore and then flash it to something like Lineage. I found out there were two versions of my phone. One was made around the rest of the world, and that one you can flash. Mine, the US special version, you can't flash. So it's going to be hot trash here in about 2 years, and then I'm probably just going to get a Pixel and do graphene.
Oh yeah, I hate that. I hate that little region lock stuff. Is this? You want to take this one? Liz?
Yeah, okay. Jolly Hobbler boosted in 50,000 sats. Up front notes that you should probably direct all hate mail to Alan at jupiterbroadcasting.com. No,
That's
no,
right.
no comment there. Looks like we've gotten a bit of a ham radio story. From time to time, the astronauts on the ISS would fire up the SSTV transmitter to do events. I did not have a good way to hook up my portable radio up to my laptop and did not want to put a lot of money into it at the time. I also needed to figure out when the ISS was going to be making its passes. So here's how I solved my problems. I used WebSDR to find 2 or 3 ground stations I could tune to the ISS frequency. I then fed those into gpredict and found when the ISS would pass over one of those stations. This would also give me backup and alternate passes. I then downloaded QSS-TV, and here's where I started having the most issues, getting audio into QSS-TV from Firefox. I played with Jack and couldn't get it to fully work, and even now I don't remember all the audio issues, but I did get the audio from Firefox into Audacity. After it was in Audacity, I was able to load it into QSS-TV and get my image. The big caveat is that a ground station is stationary, and when doing SSTV from ISS to ground, you'd like the ground station to be able to track the signal as it traverses the sky. Thanks
Yeah,
for
no
all the
kidding.
fish.
That's a great story. I barely follow it, but I love it.
Yeah, keep up the nerdery, and wow, getting something from the
Jeez.
ISS, that's wild.
Yeah, makes me want to be a ham right there. Karen Bug comes in with 27,567,000 sats using Fountain. Y'all need to find a better map. Yeah. Yeah, we budget shop on the maps.
Yeah, we do. That's true.
Yeah.
Let's. I took notes last time because I had some other ideas, but did I bring my notes? Let's find out, huh?
Notes for maps?
Yeah,
Notes
well,
for
because
what?
this is from our the booster we can't find.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay. The hunt has begun.
Yeah,
I didn't bring a map with me, too. I just have it on the phone. And I'm sitting here scrolling around. I can't find nothing.
You're doing a good job.
Let's see. Okay. Postal code 27557. Okay. I think
Yeah?
it's
What?
somewhere in Germany. Bremerhaven, maybe. That's my best guess. I think from last week. Did I get it right? City in
And
Germany.
if the digital map didn't save us this time, there's no saving.
I'm gonna have to go to a map store. Like, is there just a big physical thing of all the postal codes in the world? That's gonna be my next best guess. MonkeyPod Dev boosts in with 24,444 cents. Hey guys, first boost. I wanted a zip code boost to the podcast index, but the Albi amount shown in sats didn't match up. Is this normal? Anyway, love the JB shows. Keep up the great work, especially the value for value stuff. That was 22,222, and then we got a follow-up row of ducks to say, I now see that the Lightning transactions are broken up into several confirmed pieces, which add up to the total amount requested.
Hold on one sec. Did we do B. Peters? Hi, Levi. Yes, I know you're there, Levi. I'm recording right now. Hello. You want to come up and say hi? Come here. Come on up.
Oh, I
Come
read
on.
this
Oh.
from last week because I jumped docs because I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I thought that was an old one.
Yeah.
I got a Levi.
Wow.
I got a Levi.
That's what happens when our docs are using the exact same template, huh?
Yeah. B. Peters. Hey, wife. We're
happy.
we're the last leg. So, Wes says happy birthday. Yeah, if you're right doing that, I mean, we're almost done. Sequester yourself.
All right, ready to go?
Yeah.
B. Peters boosts in with 25,414 sats. The GPL needs to be enforced. If they don't use a technical solution, they would have to do it with the legal system, which would be expensive, slow, and would probably just make more enemies. By the way, zip code boost in this area is known as Data Center Alley. All right, well, this one, hopefully I get right because it's a little more local. Looks like that's a postal code in Jefferson County, West Virginia.
Hello, West Virginia. Of course, now I got a truck. It's all falling apart. You hear that? You hear that thing? Big old diesel. Let me give it a second.
I blame Kernbug's cursed postal code that I can't find. I think that's, that's just the wrench we didn't need.
Is this guy just like idling outside my window? Yep. That is actually literally what's happening. That guy's just sitting there idling his big old diesel pusher. A guy's trying to podcast.
How could he not know that?
How can he not understand? All right,
Can't
here
hear
we
it
go.
on
I'll pick
mumble.
it up. Okay, good. Todd from Virginia, Northern Virginia, that is, boosts in 22,222 sats just because. Thanks, Todd.
Bear 454 boosts in with 22,222 sats. Hey Chris, check out the Atari VCS base for your garage machine. Wait, what? Forget the built-in OS, put in an M2, upgrade the RAM if you need to, disable the built-in MMC, and boot straight to whatever Linux. The factory OS is based on Debian, so everything works flawlessly from Bluetooth to gigabit Ethernet. Plus, it's an Atari. At $200, it's hard to beat this little Ryzen-based box.
It would be nice. That would actually have made a great machine for this. Bear,
That wasn't even on my
put in
radar.
for the-
I mean, come on, wow, clever.
I put in for the Kickstarter on the crowdfunder on the Atari way back in the day, and I never got my unit. Maybe they tried to get a hold of me. I've looked for the email. I have yet to receive my Atari VCS, and now you're telling me I can go buy it for $200 just directly. I'm not buying it twice, but I do like the idea. If only I had my Atari. He's still just parked. He's just chilling. Noodles also comes in with a row of MIG ducts. That's right, 22,222 sats.
That's mighty hospitable of you.
I have a framework as well, and I love it. Plus, it works great with NixOS. There's even a hardware profile for it over on GitHub called just Nix Hardware. I've had mine for about 5 months now, and I love it 100%. Even just as a laptop, I haven't had to repair anything on it yet, which is good. No repairs needed in the first place because, you know what? It's better than having to have a repair. Also, a massive +1 to Obtainium. It has an export-import feature that allows easy migration to a new phone or OS. I use F-Droid to find applications, and I install them through Obtainium.
You know, that was a boost just right to Brent's heart. Unfortunately, he's not here, so I think we're going to have to direct him to this part in the finished episode. So just high future, Brent.
Yeah, there you go, Brent. Noodles has you on the DL right there.
Our buddy Bearded Tech boosts in with a row of ducks, saying thanks for the mention. Also, I do host some services on a dynamic IP address. Answering your question there, Chris, I created a container to auto-update my DNS on Linode and points us to a GitHub link we'll have in the show notes. Neat.
Nice. Okay. I was surprised we didn't get more feedback on how many folks are using static IPs or dynamic and if they're hosting content at home. I'd still like to get some more boosts and collect some samples on that. And don't include your IP. Jolly Hobbler comes in with 2,000 sats. He says, I'm still surprised you've never had an XMPP server.
Huh.
Yeah, me too.
Well, there's time yet, right?
I feel like it is in our future. I don't know for what. Especially now that we have Simplex. But I don't know. No, you happen to have a random XMPP server anywhere you use?
I don't have a random XMPP server. I use the public instance for jmp.chat, but honestly, it's just like it's a stopgap until the bridge gets good enough that I can just move to Matrix and then
there you go.
Chat in all the places.
Yep.
Hal was right, boosts in with 2,100 sats. I forget exactly what the protocol is called, but I use pfSense with Namecheap.com to change the... I use pfSense with Namecheap.com to change what my URL points to when my dynamic IP changes. It's worked flawlessly for me.
That is a nice combo.
I mean, who would have figured, right? Our audience is trying to mitigate the whole dynamic IP thing with a lot of different clever solutions.
Jeff comes in. Torched ESC comes in with Torched ESC comes in with 8,910 spicy sats. And of course, he's got to take on the garage computer. He says, I use my Rock Pro 64 as a garage computer to record drums. I fold down the monitor arm I made from an EMT so it stays out of the way. So when I'm not using it, it's clear. I really like this setup. I think you focus way too much on the implementation. Just roll something out and iterate as you need. We're talking about my garage PC build I want to do. You're already using a phone, so no big deal until you're already using your phone. So no big deal until you're happy with it, right? Oh, and it sounds like you already have the perfect machine. Put that Clockwork Pi to work. He says, when I checked it out, it seemed pretty fast, at least for notes. It turns on quickly, has a full-size USB port for a keyboard, and it also has micro HDMI. You can dock this thing for notes. You can put it in the car for diagnostics even. And if you need to take it to a notes with the auto parts store, you could actually print it. Sync it, and also you could sync to your home folder, maybe on a NAS, and you just don't really care what OS it's using. If it dies, you flash a new SD card, call it all good. Or when I'm there, I'll try to get one of those laptops from the graveyard running again. Oh, Jeff.
I love it. He's just signed himself up. I guess we don't have to worry about it because it's Jeff's
I think problem solved. Yeah, it's Jeff's fault. It's Jeff's fault. It's Jeff's problem. It's all fine. Thanks, Jeff.
Oppie 1984 boosts in. Oh, Jeff, was he going to chime in, Jeff?
Oh, sorry, I hit the wrong button. I said bring it on.
Oppie 1984 boosts in with 4,000 sats. As a fellow Mike, +1 on the B-Link and Scepter display setup. My weekend workstation in my home office is a B-Link NUC and dual Scepter displays. Nothing fancy. It just boots into Linux Mint in under 30 seconds, and I can get right to work. I've only had the B-Link for about 3 months or so, but it's been rock solid.
Good to know. I've been hearing good things about those B-Links, and they seem to be a good price. That's a great use for that. Brandon comes in with 6,666 sats. Ooh.
Coming in hot with the boost.
So for the garage setup, I say keep it simple, stupid. Use the old ThinkPad. I can attest it'll be more than capable. I temporarily have been driving daily an old 4th gen quad core i5, and the general performance with Gnome and Silverblue has been solid. If it weren't for the clunky form factor and sub 1080p screen, I don't even know if I'd be bothered looking for a replacement. Minimum of 8 gigs of RAM, though, is critical, guys. If you're going to have a web browser, you got to have at least 8 gigs of RAM. He also likes the suggestion of using Kinoite or Silverblue as the OS, as opposed to maybe something else. He says you could run the installer, then you throw Flatpak on there with Obsidian, set it to auto start, pretty much good to go. If something breaks, you just boot to a previous image with Grub. You don't have to over-engineer it. It's taken me years to learn to just embrace the keep it simple philosophy. It always works out better in the end. That is some sage advice, Brandon. Thank you.
Gene Bean boosts in with a row of ducks. I let my Unified Dream Machine keep DNS updated at zoneedit.com. I delegated a subdomain to the DDNS service there, and it's worked great for the last few years. Neat, Gene Bean. Also, a little shout out here. I think I saw Gene Bean playing around with Nix over in our Nix Nerds channel and getting a whole bunch of seemingly helpful input from the wonderful community over there. So keep up the nerdery, everyone. That's amazing.
Complete Noobs came in with 11,111 sats, just to say karma. Thank you, everybody who did boost in. Sourced C came in with a set of enterprise sats.
I am programmed in multiple techniques.
Saying he would be down for a long-term Steam Deck review. So that is 2 votes we've seen for long-term Steam Deck review. We had 20 boosts this week. Absolutely thank you, everybody. And the grand total for the show this week was 1,434,449 sats. Absolutely incredible. Thank you.
Winamp. It really whips the llama's ass.
As we look forward to the future, I hope that we can keep some of this momentum sustainable. We have, who knows what kind of uncertain future ahead of us, and to be able to build kind of like this now, build out this pipeline, figure this process out, iterate and learn as we do. It gives me peace of mind. It gives me peace of mind as a small business owner, and it gives me peace of mind knowing that we can keep the show coming. So if you get value from the show and you'd like to send a little bit back, well, you can do that via a boost or by becoming a member. If you'd like to boost in, get a new podcast app at podcastapps.com. Fountain, Cast-O-Matic, and absolutely Podverse seem to be the most popular amongst our crew. You can top those off and then boost in directly using the app. And you also get all the new features like the advanced RSS stuff for live items, chapters, transcripts, and more. And then if you want to keep your podcast app, but you'd still like to get on the Boost Fund, just get Alby. Get Alby.com. Top it off with something else on the Lightning Network, like Cash App or Strike or anything that's on Lightning. Robosats. It's cool. And then you just go to the podcastindex.org. You find our entry over there and boost up. We'll have it all linked in the show notes, so it's real easy for you. And we really appreciate everybody who does that or becomes a member at unpluggedcore.com and supports the show directly. You also get some extra special benefits just for our members. And a big thank you, everybody. We really appreciate the support this week. And we'll continue on now with a fantastic pick. I love it when you find these, Wes. These are my favorite. Like I look over the links for the show and I'm like, oh, Wes has found a goodie. Tell us about this terminal-based file manager.
Yeah, Yazi. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Apparently it's duck in Chinese. It's a terminal file manager written in our friend Rust. But also based on non-blocking async I/O. It aims to provide an efficient, user-friendly, and customizable file management experience. And since it's async, all I/O operations are done asynchronously. CPU tasks are spread across as many threads as it can, trying to make the most of available resources. It's got all kinds of stuff in the back end, like real-time progress updates, good support for like canceling a task. So even if you try to commit to something that might be on an expensive or slow disk, you can cancel that. Internal task priority assignment. It's also got built-in code highlighting and image encoding and like some sort of fancy caching mechanism to speed up trying to display images or load files like that. And it integrates with things you might already be using like the Fuzzy Finder FZF or the awesome RipGrep.
It just looks so clean. It just, sometimes I think it's, maybe I'm a visual learner, but the fact that you could be in a terminal and you can hover over like an image and it'll preview the image, or you can hover over a shell script and it'll give you a preview of the shell script inside the terminal. It's going to be so quick from when I'm like busting around on our NAS server and just kind of cleaning stuff up and going through there. So it's YAZI, the blazing fast terminal file manager.
And yes, it is already packaged in Nix.
Of course it is. Very good, Wes. Thank you. I'll be adding that to my staple of Wes picks. I should just have like a list of Wes picks because you always find the good ones. If you'd like to suggest a great app, you can always go to linuxunplug.com/contact. We got our contact form over there. You can always boost in as well. And we'll have links to all the stuff we talked about, like Yazi, at linuxunplug.com/528. So no, I think you dropped it in there, but it sounds like the Linux Delta server is going to be opening up signups again in the near future, you madman.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see how that works. We've opened it up every year around Southeast Linux Fest, and we've done.
Idea.
Yeah, it's neat because it allows you to pass a token. So what we've done is told people, if you go over to Southeast Linux Fest, you're looking to participate in the conference, then those people get an account there. Now we're thinking we're probably to the point where we could open it back up, because if we just outgrow the storage, we'll just throw more drives in the thing, and you don't have to rent it per gigabyte anymore.
You just gotta buy the disc, but at least you only have to buy them once, really.
Right.
It's not a monthly thing. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, Noah. It's been great hanging out with you. We'll put a link to the Ask Noah show in the notes. And we'll put a particular link to the most recent one where you talk about some of your Matrix stuff. I'm sure it's going to come up on the future episodes as the Wells, right?
Yeah. No, it'll be an on-running journey. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. It always is, sir. It always is. Also, don't forget, like, if you're going to be able to make it to the Linux Fest shenanigans, we got meetup pages now where the Linux Fest crew does. We'll have a link to their meetup page, Linux Fest Northwest meetup page. Lots of stuff going on still if you can make it out to our area. We absolutely would love to see you out here. Everybody listening, just pack it up and start heading this way. It's coming up soon. But if you can't make it because of the changes, man, I've really been getting DM'd a lot. If you can't make it or you got to make some adjustments with the changes, we totally understand. We hope maybe you can make it in the spring, and we'll try to bring you some great content from the events, whichever way it happens to go. If you'd like to get more show, well, you can become a member. You get a whole lot more show, about double the show, or you can tune in live, jblive.tv. We tend to do it Sundays at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and that is converted to your local time at jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar.
See you next week. Same bat time, same bat station.
That's right. jblive.tv. Of course, you just get the RSS feed and you get the dang show whenever we release it. You don't have to worry about time math or when we're streaming or any of that. linuxunplug.com/RSS. You pop that in your podcatcher of choice. Of course, the new podcast app, of course. And you'll just get it when we release it, which is probably the best way. And then, if you enjoyed an episode, you can share it with somebody. All right, thank you so much for tuning this week's episode of the Unplugged program. From Eastern Washington, we'll see you right back here next Sunday. Well, the connection, it seemed to have mostly held. I wasn't really sure. So for years, I have had this custom self-hosted VPN box on Linode. There were, like, I had to tear it down to the metal and then load this custom Linux distro on there so I could use this VPN service that aggregates multiple connections into one. And so I have Starlink, AT&T, and Verizon. All three are active right now. And they all send the same thing. I'm using all three connections simultaneously to send and receive the same data. It goes through the VPN to this hosted server where it aggregates everything back together again and then transmits it out and in for me. And so if the Starlink drops, because I have a lot of tree coverage right here, it, you know, the Verizon can pick up, for example, because it's sending the same thing across all three connections. And it has this checksum it does called forward error correction, and it can see if something hasn't arrived in the right order, and then it can quickly reassemble it for me too. So it's really crazy what it can do. But, you know, I upgraded the firmware on my router because I kind of have like this process I go through a couple of days before we depart. I kind of get everything updated because once I'm on the road, I don't want to change state. So if there's going to be anything that goes wrong, I want to find it a couple of days before we go.
Oh, this is how you update the studio machines before we go live. Same idea.
Yeah, same idea. So I update the firmware on the router, and it's all good. Nice little new UI. It's all good, right? What I didn't realize, because I don't use it at my home base, is that they drop support for the old style self-hosted VPN system that I'd been using.
Ooh.
And they have a cheaper option, but it's still like a pay service. And so they used to offer both, and the pay service was like $1,000 a month, or you can self-host. And so I obviously did the self-hosting. But now they have a pay option, and it's like tiered based on how much data you want to use. And so 2 terabytes is like $80. But 2 terabytes, I've measured it when you count the video streaming and the uploading of the files and streaming for 3 or 4 hours, 2 terabytes isn't really enough. So I had to get the 5 terabyte option. So to get 5 terabytes, you go from $80 to $180.
Whoa.
And it's just, once the 5 terabytes is up, you're done. You just got to buy it again. That's how it works now. So, I mean, it seems like it did the job though. So maybe it was money well spent, but that's how I managed.
What does that work out to per gig?
It's bad, man. So that's how I managed to do it for the show, remote from Eastern Washington on the other side of the mountains, using 3 connections simultaneously. It actually managed to hold up.
What do you think of Starlink?
I'm very happy with it, because I'm coming at it from the perspective of an LTE user and not like somebody who had fiber, right? So I'm coming at it from, it's a significant quality of life upgrade. And it's really nice that they let me move it and set it up so I can bring it with me to different places. I put it up on a flagpole now. And so I've got a flagpole that I suction cup mount to the side of Jupes, and I just send up the Starlink and get it clear. And it generally works really great. And I just bring it in via Ethernet to the PEP link. And so it's just one of the connections, and I like it. I've worked out their router. They have a fine router, but I don't need it. Yeah. So I've been able to work that out, and I like it a lot.
Wait, do you have the first generation or the second generation one? Is it square or circle?
I had the circle. It broke, and they gave me like the second gen kit after that one broke.
You can use the square one without the router?
Yeah. You can get a bypass kit. Basically, you can go into the router, and once you have the kit, you go into the router and you tell it turn off and just be a PoE device, and it turns off all the router functions, and it just does PoE pass through.
No kidding. I bought the wired Ethernet thing for the second gen one, but I didn't know you could I didn't realize you could shut the routing stuff off. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Today
you do lose like you lose local like stats. You know how you can open up the Starlink app and it'll like get you all these stats directly off the device? You lose that because the router forwards that stuff to the dish. But you can still get that information through the cloud. So like they'll cloud connect in, and you can still get that data, but it's just not over your LAN, which kind of stinks, but you still get the data. So yeah, I'm really happy, and it made this show possible. So that's great too. All right, boys, I'll stop in on the recording. Thank you, Drew. Thank you.
Love you.
And then I don't know, Noah, do you have what's the most convenient way to get that file to us?
Unless you tell me otherwise, you'll receive a C file link here in about 30 seconds.
That works for me.
Awesome.
That's no problemo. Now we need to get a title, so let's end the titles because we need to get. Let's be real. My title's no good, so last chance. Show.
Chris, you did notice that you're using the Coda Radio.
That's my fault, and I did notice, but after we started.
Yeah, I didn't notice until somebody mentioned it.
Coder, what are you talking about? The frame.
Just on the frame.
The frame. Yeah,
that's fine. No, that's.
I kicked Mike out today.
Funny. Yeah. Not your data, not your secrets was mine. Kind of like not your coins, not your keys, not your coins.
I see.
Season 2, Noah's Ark. Who has your data? Brent's Boom and Bus. How funny is I've been giving him a hard time about getting a bang bus, and he does the show from a bus.
I've been trying to get.
Claims he doesn't know why the bus was rocking.
Yeah, we got to get him in a band. Yeah. Brentley's new frame of mind. No, we're not doing another frame one. We just did frame ones last week.
Yeah.
Own your data is not bad. Not your data, not your secrets. Can we think of something better than that? It's not super strong.
No. Something about Matrix, something about...
I was trying to split the difference since it's kind of,
it's both
data
topics.
sovereignty. Yeah. A little bit of a mixed bag, dog's breakfast of a show, as they say.
Privacy in the Matrix.
Ooh, that one's kind of good.
Yeah. No, I got any great ideas? I mean, if you're only here every now and then, you should have all these title ideas.
Right, that's our secret reason for inviting you.
My title suggestions? I think not.
Famous title suggestions.
Call it It's the Pix, but in Noah's voice.
Who has your data? Where's your data? What about where's your data? Like what's in your wallet?
Yeah.
Where's your data? I don't know.
That's kind of fun.
We can try it on and see how it looks.
Where's your data? How's that look, Wes? Does that look right? There at the top. Oh, it's kind of getting warm a little
bit. We need a lieutenant commander sound clip. Do we have one?
Oh, yeah, what could I... We have,
There's coffee in that nebula.
Now, are we going with
Fun will now commence.
Which is good.
Yeah, that fun did commence. So no question mark? Or do we want... Or it's just like a statement?
Oh, yeah, no, I think it needs a question mark. You're right.
I don't hate that.
Yeah.
It doesn't look bad.
Okay. Where's your data? Where is it?
Tough little ship. Little.
Oh, Star Trek.
Yeah, and if people figure out where their data is, they can boost in and let us know where they found it.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
It's like with socks, in the laundry, but your data and I guess government agencies.
All right. Are we done already? That's probably good because I have a sequestered to the back, so that's probably a good thing.
Chris, have you ever played Smash TV, the old arcade game? Big money, big prizes. I love it.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
No.
I clipped a bunch of the sounds because it's all fun stuff. I was going to shoot it to you at some point.
I bet. I've been thinking about clipping some Wheel of Fortune sounds. Old Pat Sajak gets spicy in the older episodes because this on Pluto they run the stuff from the early '80s, and they run the more current stuff. And Pat's just not having it. When people are running the clock out and trying to make as much money as possible and buy and guess every letter, he starts getting impatient. He starts getting spicy. Love it. Okay. Well, I think we're good, boys.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, you and I need to work on that description a little bit, but we can do that probably offline.
Let everyone have the rest of their Sunday back.
Yeah, I mean, it's we could keep it short and brief. That's fine.
Hit me up at some point, Chris, if you've got kind of time frame ideas now that, Linux Fest isn't happening. Then I'll set up my PTO and, get things set.
Yeah, I bet the rough original time frame is probably going to work. But yes.
Cool.
I think I don't have a meeting this week, but we have one soon. But yeah, I'll keep you posted. I'll what I'll try to do is I'll try to keep everybody posted in that Linux Fest crew room that I created. Just keep everybody posting what's going on in there.
That's a good idea.
I fired off an email to the organizers about if that educational track, if they were going to pull that from the existing speakers, but I haven't got any word back yet.
Okay. A couple of the guys are gone this week. That might be one. Which is part of the reason why we couldn't do any venues because a bunch of people are traveling. So it's we actually only have we'd have 15, 20 days to switch venues.
The worst time to try to pivot. Jeez.
Yeah. I want to get up there. I'm told that there's holes in walls and
Yeah, it'd be
Like
interesting
you can
to
see the frame of the building and stuff. I would like to see some of that.
Port BTC.
If the weather's nice, it'll be fine.
Yeah, right.
That's kind of what I was thinking too.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first open air Linux Fest Northwest.
Right. Yeah, heck, it might be good.
All
It's
for
probably
it.
a liability thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's a safety issue. Wes, do you know, was there some earthquake a couple years ago or something in Bellingham?
I don't know.
Because like the building got all jacked somehow. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. But,
well, I did have a question for because I've never actually done a lot of long travel. I generally just travel by car within 6 hours. What should I expect now? Or is this gonna be kind of the same thing? Wherein say you have projects or something's going on, what should I go ahead and bring?
I mean, yourself, a laptop. I mean, there's not much really. You could bring. I mean,
anything you might want to work on in your own stuff, right? Like it'd be.
Yeah, well, I was trying to think of we're probably gonna do a lunch too. And there's gonna be food at Friday night too. So there could be room for food too if you want. That's sort of optional. We're gonna grab snacks and we're gonna grab some stuff. So not really necessary, but that could be an option. I know one listener is gonna bring hopefully, I don't know if you're out there still gonna do it, but bring some pulled pork Friday night. He's been planning to slow cook some pulled pork in his big green egg. Yeah, then bring it up Friday night for us to eat on while we do our thing. They have a really cool venue. I'm blanking on the name, but it's a really great venue. It's 2 buildings next to each other, and they get both of them in Bellingham. And it's got games and arcades and pinball and all that kind of stuff. So should be a lot of fun Friday night. And then Saturday day, I think we're going to try to do self-hosted, and that's also when they're going to do the educational tracks and some of the other social get-togethers. So Saturday should be pretty busy.
Nice. I should, barring any flights I've never flown before, barring any delays, I should be up there. I think 10 o'clock local time.
Great. Well, good luck with the traveling then.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks. Of course, what is it? The hotel check-in's 2 p.m. like normal. But I could always check in later too. So.
Yeah, usually on Friday, I think it's usually around 4-ish, kind of when things kind of start rolling, is what I seem to recall. Although that's generally been predicated on when we get access to the building. So it might be, I don't know exactly. It might be even a little bit later if it's when we get access to the venue Friday night. What we'll probably figure out before it gets to that is we'll have a meetup spot for all us JB folks, I imagine, to all kind of congregate and get together before the event starts if we want. So I'll try to get all that figured out over the next couple of weeks.
Also, Bellingham is cute and lovely, so it can also be if you're you like that kind of thing, could be a nice time to just get the lay of the land and go poke around a bit.
You could easily do a brewery crawl. They've got plenty of breweries, that kind of thing, if that's your speed. Lots of little restaurants, for sure. It's a great little town.
I'm going to be looking for the best coffee in the region. Since I don't drink, that's going to be my big thing: is best coffee and best local food.
I bet you'll find some good options.
Oh,
get a little. What is it you put in your coffee?
You talking about the bulletproof coffee, with the MCT oil and the butter or whatever? Yeah, butter coffee.
Butter in the coffee. Oh my goodness!
It's cream, dude. It's like cream. It's not that weird.
I used to do that. It's odd.
It's good
for the first 6 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I did it for 6 weeks.
Some fat in my bean water is good. Yeah.
Some fat in my bean water. Yeah, that's basically what it is. Yeah. I'm not sure if mainlining the Red Bull's any better though. So.
Just take that Red Bull drip, just drag it around with you.
Yeah.
No big deal. No big deal, right?
So I think I don't know for sure. I haven't talked to Hadia yet since she's been back, but there might be a piece of property we're going to go park for a day or two on nearby. Could be nice
where are you right now?
In Twisp. I'm in, so just on the other side of the mountains.
Oh, Twisp is lovely.
And, yep. They had a huge classic car show here. They do it every year. And so there was a whole parade of classic, just beautiful classic cars. all that going on. It was very crowded though, so there's that. But it's kind of nice coming over here this time of year because it's low to mid 80s during the day, and then high 40s at night. So it's a pretty big swing, but I like it cool at night. And it's still comfortable during the day. It's kind of a nice time here. September in Eastern Washington is nice. And fall's just kicking in, but it's not like a wet, damp, soggy fall. It's like a dry, kind of desertish fall. It's nice.
Just making me sad we weren't able to pull off that Spokane meetup. But,
I know. That was going to be this weekend.
Happen.
Yeah, I think, and now I really regret it now that we're not doing Linux Fest, but we didn't know at the time. I think more people would have signed up had they known.
Yeah.
But we didn't know. So we'll do it again maybe next year. Of course, I was going to do it in April, and now I'm not. All right. Well, Mumble Room, thank you guys. Josh, John, appreciate yous. Always nice hanging out with you even from afar.
Yeah, I'm definitely have to try to make it next night too.
Yeah, do it, please.
Love to see you.
Yeah, and what you could now that we're done, you have our permission. You could take the rest of the day off. In fact, if you want to take tomorrow off too, just tell them I said it's fine. It's fine. You can clip this. It's fine.
I'm sure my boss would be okay with it, right?
Yeah.
The internet told me so.
All right. Wes, you can probably take us off the airs. And if you have any music, do you have any music to play us out with? Anything like to?
Oh yeah. So do we do? What's the order here? Some commercial streams? Do we dump them first?
Yeah, I could dump the commercial streams. I can do that. So if you want to do the music and then all right. So we're gonna turn off the commercial streams. Thank you guys for hanging out with us over there. Of course, you can always catch the full streams over at Jupiter.tube, our self-hosted PeerTube instance, and JBLive.fm and the Jupiter station.
All right. See you later, Mumble. Thank you.
Bye, Mumble.
We'll see you.
See you.
Thanks, guys.